Okay, wonderful. Well, we are here at Petrozello's in Rochester Hills at the Reagan Day dinner. And I'm speaking with Marsha Blackburn, and she is the Congresswoman from Tennessee, and she is our special guest tonight. And we're going to ask her a few questions about what she's doing on the Capitol Hill, and here we go. I know it was your birthday, and I want to wish you a belated happy birthday. We welcome you. This is the Reagan Day dinner for the 9th and 12th districts. And what brings you here today?
I am here today at the invitation of the Republican Party, and I've got to tell you, I am thrilled to be here. There is so much energy in Michigan. Look at what transpired for the last election cycle, and people are determined that they're going to pick up some more congressional seats and build on the majorities that they have. So what a great place to be celebrating our conservative values.
So what do you see if you had a crystal ball, how would you see Michigan playing in the senatorial race against Debbie Stabenow?
I think that what you're going to see is a competitive candidate, and that is going to be a very competitive race. And when you look at what people are concerned about, jobs, the economy, making certain that we reduce what the federal government spends, getting a handle on the federal debt, focusing on our national security, securing freedom, those are all issues where Republicans lead. And I think that because of that, when you get around to Election Day in 2012, you're going to see the Republican win and take that Senate seat.
Yes, very well said. I know you've been on a crusade with the tax loopholes and fighting for our rights and freedoms with the tax laws and policy. Can you elaborate on what's going on in Tennessee and around the United States on those issues?
I'll be happy to, because in Tennessee we've been a little bit ahead of the curve, and we saw our state General Assembly go Republican. State Senate in 06, State House in 08. We're making great strides there, and we're doing everything right to attract businesses and to grow businesses that are there, creating the environment for jobs growth to take place. That's one of the things that people sometimes forget, is that government doesn't create jobs. Government creates the environment in which jobs growth can take place by fighting those cumbersome taxes. And you have a Michigander, Dave Camp, who chairs Ways and Means in the U.S. House, who is doing a phenomenal job leading that effort to flatter, fairer, simpler taxes for all Americans, and we're really proud of him.
So I guess you are a fan of Michigan deleting the MBT.
Well, I think that it is imperative that you look at deleting all these taxes that are going to be very difficult, make it more difficult on businesses, and whether it is tort reform and laws and liability issues and business taxes. And I know Governor Snyder's had his plate full, and sounds like he is on the right track, and that the people of Michigan do think he's on the right track.
Well, speaking of the 2012 presidential race, do you have any favorites right now? Would you like to elaborate?
No favorites right now, but the great thing is we have such a deep bench of Republican candidates. I think it's wonderful. It shows that in our states and across the country, there are Republicans from the private sector, from state government, at the federal level also, that are taking the lead and have the skill set that is necessary to be the commander-in-chief and the president of the United States.
Do you have a favorite?
No favorite yet. Watching the field.
Yeah, wonderful. Are you working on anything special right now that you would like to expound upon?
Sure, I am. I've got a couple of pieces of legislation. One's a bill that's a little bit fun, but I think it kind of coalesces a lot of the things that frustrate us about government. It is repealing the ban on incandescent light bulbs.
Amen.
I hear about it everywhere I go, and I understand that even today the Wall Street Journal had an editorial or op-ed in about it. But people don't want the federal government telling them what kind of light bulb they have to burn in their house, and they certainly don't want those mercury-filled light bulbs. So that is taking part of our time. I'm also doing a good bit of work on bills that deal with telecommunications and the internet. That's one of my subcommittees at Energy and Commerce, and looking at the virtual economy and the privacy issue. Who owns the virtual you or your presence online? Those are items that legislation that are taking a lot of our time. Another one, a health care bill, is a cross-state line purchase of insurance, letting people pass those stop signs at the state line so they can go shop wherever they want to for a health care product that is going to meet their family's needs.
Absolutely. You said that so well, Marsha. What about the health care bill and net neutrality? Can you just speak a little bit about both of those two issues?
I certainly can. The health care bill, we're working on the repeals for Obamacare, and I'm one of those that keeps saying, look, let's not allow any money to be spent because there's still a court challenge on this legislation, and it could end up that it is found to be unconstitutional. So I'm certainly one of those that wants to block the funding on that as we work to repeal it. And my bill that allows a cross-state line purchase of insurance would repeal Title I, which is the insurance provisions of Obamacare. Net neutrality, I have the legislation that would expressly prohibit the FCC from implementing net neutrality. And as so many people have figured out since the government did this, the FCC did this back in December, net neutrality is basically the fairness doctrine for the internet. It is government assigning priority and value to the content that you have that's going to travel through those pipes. And we are continuing to push this to make certain that we pull back the authority from the FCC. They never had it in the first place. They overstepped their bounds. They took authority away from Congress, and it's time for us to kind of slap their little wrist and say, no, 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 you better not do that. That authority belongs to the U.S. House of Representatives, the People's House.
Yes, very well spoken. I know so many people right now are a little dismayed with how the country's going and with everything that's happening at a meteoric rate as far as Obama's policies and what have you. I would like your take on maybe some positive aspects that we can look forward to in the future.
Susan, I have to tell you, one of the things that interests me most, if you look at all the polling that is out there right now, 70% of all Americans think that we are on the wrong track in this country. It doesn't matter if it's about security or if it's about jobs or the economy or the federal debt. 70% think we're on the right track. So I guess I'm the eternal optimist. I look at that number and say, great. 70% of the American people are ready to change course, and we have some ideas and ways to do that, and we continue to bring these forward, making certain that we use this time as we look at the debt limit to cut spending in a very meaningful and serious way, that we put in place legislation that will cap spending so that we don't get in this situation again, and legislation that will require a balanced budget amendment. A balanced budget amendment and balancing that budget without tax increases, having to do it with spending cuts. Our government is outsized. It is too big. It needs to be reduced. And we don't have a revenue problem in Washington. We have a spending problem. And there are lots of things that we can begin to change the way government operates, reduce some of these agencies. Every year that I have been in Congress, I run bills calling for across-the-board spending cuts. Generally, I do 1%, 2%, and 5% across-the-board cuts. This year, I've done 5%, 10%, and 15% across-the-board spending cuts because the American people want us to reduce the size of the federal government. And you know what? You've got to start somewhere, so we might as well get that ball rolling this year.
Yes. We want to thank you so much for coming here to Michigan. It's a pleasure. We would love to have you as an optimist in Michigan because, as you know, our economy is so dismal here, but it is going up. And it was a pleasure having you here. And what is on the agenda? Are you staying here tonight only, or are you going to stop? Have any other places to stop?
No, I am heading back to Tennessee tomorrow. This is a district work period, and I'm like a lot of members of Congress. I've got a very busy week in front of me, but I tell you what, you could not have stopped me from coming and being here tonight with this group to celebrate what is happening here in Michigan, and I think that Michigan is going to help lead the way to putting this country back on the right track.
Well, thank you so much, and we look forward to hearing you speak this evening.
I appreciate it.